Anybody else coming from the committee, or should we wait, or?
I don't think there's any reason to wait.
Okay.
I don't know if Judy's coming or not, but
Okay.
I didn't hear.
Okay. So yeah, 9 o'clock update regarding 8 recommendations from the jail committee. And Gordon wasn't there last time, but he's here this time.
I apologize.
Mr. Boone, Lance, and
Other things came up, like I forgot.
and Brandy. No one else as far as you know coming either. Just
Not
continue.
that I'm aware. I know Judge McGone was gonna try to make it in, but he had to do a quick initial appearance,
Okay.
so he'll stop by after.
All right. So looks like the list of 8 was the detention center maintenance and painting will be completed immediately. How's that going, Mr.
So
Boone?
essentially, we just walked through it there. We got probably, I'm assuming, maybe an hour or 2 to finish the other ones. We'll be down to 1 inmate pod left to paint, and then we'll have, I don't know if we'll be able to with this weather to pull off that indoor rec unless we tarp it and
yeah.
throw some heat in there or something. Or not an indoor, an outdoor rec. And then, so we have the indoor rec, which is bare walls, really should go really quick in there. Then once we get all that done and the hallways done, we'll do the floor last. But it's coming along. I'd say it's well over half. So, and then as far as I had a meeting with the Missoula County guys, TJ McDermott, the sheriff, the undersheriff Maricelli, the commander of the jail, Kowalski, and the training lieutenant at the jail, Roderick. And they all came out. Lance came along, and we did a tour of the place and had them guys walk through, give us any of their thoughts. They were pretty pleased with it. It was way better than what they expected. They thought it was a pretty nice jail. And they said with the paint job, it's going to look really nice. They gave us a couple recommendations for issues that they had over there, just kind of like precautionary, so we don't have those issues. So we're going to take care of those so we don't see any future litigation or anything. Other than that, we took a tour of the old assisted living up there next to the hospital. Just to let those guys walk through it, because it's it's just sitting up there not being used. And
Well, it is being used. I got to agree. It's being used as the break area for your pot smokers. So whoever was in the building when the nine of us walked in didn't appreciate too much when I yelled police. Who owns that building?
The hospital district.
Yeah.
Were you still on that board?
No, sir. No, never been on that one.
The reasoning we went up there is there's a big push in the DOC right now to do treatment, whether it be there's different stages of it. So there's a Nexus program and Elkhorn or intensive treatment centers, and there's Mass. There's all sorts of things, but that place is set up ideally for either treatment or low risk offenders, re-entry type situation for employees, and so having TJ and Kowalski up there, they're real familiar with those DOC programs. But it makes a natural feeder for the hospital as well. If they're not going to utilize it, which to me is the dumbest thing in the world to get that shut down, but it needs to be used for something. And so they were looking at it because there's a push right now. I think I saw in the paper yesterday that DOC is under the obligation to remove 200.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so there's this big push, and there's a big change in the idea of crimes and treatment and addiction and that type of thing. That incarceration isn't the answer, and so there's opportunity there, and just it makes sense to look at it. I think Missoula's. I mean, you can speak there, but to me, they basically said is we'd do whatever we could to help Mineral County. And, you know, they got the experience, the manpower to do that. And so for them to come out and take a day, I thought it was pretty nice of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
And they were, you know, spot on when I called them the other night for some help, and they sent some people out, which was really appreciated.
Yeah,
So-
contacts matter, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, they were here in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
No problems, don't worry about it, if you need anything else type of thing, so yeah, we really appreciate PJ and all that.
Okay. Then number 2 here, the county will, Casey advertised, we got copies of the ads here, advertising will be done for detention center administrator using the job description. Did you
Where
pretty
did
much,
they advertise it at?
in the mineral lab, I believe?
And then,
Montana.gov website, job service.
I mean, I think we gotta put it in Missouli.
Oh,
No offense, but
Yeah.
unless you're a local, you don't pick up the mineral.
yeah,
I mean, that's the good gossip sheet. But, I
yeah.
mean, we're gonna try to pull some people.
Yep.
Wouldn't hurt to put it in Missouli. And how many apps do we have
5, I think, or
for
6, 5?
jail detention officer?
No, the lead jailer, the administrator.
5 for that, and
Yeah.
then how many for detention officer?
Another 5? 7.
7? So, wow, getting some. Seems realistic to me that we better get or you guys better get a hiring committee.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the other thing Missoula said is they would help us get going with inmates. They would ship us some of their DOC.
Mm-hmm.
For advertising too, if you go on the web and do a LinkedIn or a Google advertisement thing, you can get people to
You mean
relocate.
on the empty one that Casey mentioned, the job service one?
Right, but not just like the government job service, but like a more social LinkedIn, just that, you know, because they search everything, you know, and yes, if somebody is working in the government and has all those qualifications, they might be searching there too. But if you do a more public one, then word of mouth goes and said, hey, they know somebody who has been talking about it and maybe they didn't look, and their friend goes, hey, I saw this advertisement, you should go look at it, you know, because we've gotten some really good managers relocated to St. Regis from eastern start of Montana just because it was in LinkedIn or the Google job site, it was on the net. So not just specific, but more widespread.
Yeah, at 10 o'clock, Lance, is our setting up scheduling for interviewing for the jailers and the administrator. So, pardon me? Oh, maybe I heard somebody else.
oh, so he was bringing the whole way.
Oh, okay. So, are you thinking that 5 is decent enough to go ahead with that, or do you?
Well, I think you start looking at seeing what your candidates look like, and if not, I mean, I have a real concern. I still think the wage is so low that we're gonna be stuck in the same pickle that we are before. It's that part, and that worries me. But I think you take a look at your applicants and see what type of talent you're getting. And if it isn't the talent we need, then we look at pushing the wages up until we get it. We gotta have it.
And speaking of that, was it, since the jail committee's here, is it their clear recommendation to us that the jail administrator be separate from the dispatch
Well,
administrator? Like
yeah,
the Sanders
well,
County one was kind of blended.
I mean, I don't know. And to me, initially, when I was looking at this, there was a divide in essentially detention officers and with the sheriff at that time. And so it made sense to me to have the administrator just taking care of the detention center and that part of it. I think it's always just a fluent type of situation, is depending on that relationship, it can go either way. But I think the administrator is just like Jason Kowalski. His job is to administer and take care of the jail. He may end up reporting to the sheriff or whatever, but to have that division for sure, just because of the fact of there's so much responsibility there. I also think that it's important, and actually it was talking with Missoula County and listening, is there's a lot of pride, I think, at least they were talking about, in the detention officers being a part of the sheriff's department in that part. So I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to say, oh, I'm in this, I'm a part of the sheriff's department, and I'm a law enforcement officer. I mean, detention officers, that's what they are.
And they go to the academy now, too.
Yeah, and so in that sense, but I think my thought, and other people can chime in, is regardless, the administrator that's their sole responsibility. They have to keep up on all of the regulations, and administer to make sure safety of prisoners, safety of officers, checking, and the other thing is just being aware of, the state grants or whatever else is out there that can help update the facility itself. I think they were mentioning that like every 5 years you can get an updated electronic, I think it's dispatch or something like that. There's a grant for that. And it's because one of the things I kept hearing them say is, man, can you imagine what it costs if any of this breaks down? And just with time, that was one of their things. And so they're to be on top of that area. Like the sheriff's department knows about the grants for officers and different things there, but to have someone that is, that's their position. And so to me, that really makes sense.
So currently, like Ronnie's kind of the lead dispatcher and schedules and runs dispatch, so this would be a lead jailer that schedules and runs the jail.
Yeah, and whether that
not the same, not like Sanders County had one person that kind of did dispatch and the jail. So I'm clarification.
I don't know if to me is they're, like you said, they're in the same pod of areas. Does it make sense to the dispatch be an administrator? Probably it could be if it's you're talking a few extra probably employees. What, there's another 5 or 6 dispatchers? I mean, you're looking at 5 or 6. I mean, realistically, I don't think it's that much to ask of having 12 people under your command versus that. I mean, I'd want more money if I was doing it. More money.
Yeah, that's the problem there.
Yes. That grant that he's talking about is the fingerprint plat, which we just got. And it actually hasn't been installed yet, but so I mean, it was $5,000 essentially. And
That's going to save time
yeah,
and effort right there. I also went through the jail with Boone. He took me through the whole thing. From one end clean round to the other.
Might have to be in Leland there, Mike.
it was tempting, but I didn't have enough brushes to leave.
They didn't have anybody to watch the jail. So, yeah, I agree with Lance. I think that, if we start thinning the job out, we're going to have a lot of people in there not having enough job and not getting enough hours or having to pay more for less. And I think that the jailer, the lead dispatcher, and the administrator should be as one person.
It would make sense, in that part of it, because it seems to me they cover for each other. At least what I've noticed is, if a dispatcher, a jailer has to go out in the cells, their dispatchers are opening doors at times. And so,
would you?
It's always that way. The dispatchers are always running the doors, but the issue that we've come into security-wise is there have been instances where Gen Pop's main pod door has been open, which means however many inmates will go with 10, now have full access, not just to the facility itself, but to the detention officer. And if that dispatcher gets a 911 call, now that detention officer is standing there for 5, 10, 15 minutes, outnumbered with a wide open door.
Well,
So it just
that makes
depends
more
on-
sense why your administrator would do both.
Yes.
Yeah, and who would the administrator answer to? That's my question. I mean, I know we have the sheriff's office here and we have the county commissioners, and I think that the sheriff is probably more or easier to get a hold of because he's on duty just 24/7. So I think, would they answer to him?
Well, previously,
You can do it either way. The statute says you can appoint an administrator that essentially works for the commissioners, at least the way I read it. Ellen
Right.
can chirp in, she probably knows more about it, but that way or either way. But integrally, though, I mean, any issue of if there's a problem in the jail, automatically your first call is the sheriff. I mean, that's just standard procedure. So I guess that part, to me, whether it's a reporting directly to the commissioners and just taking that out of the sheriff's, and why we wanted it out of the sheriff's department is because of the number of deputies we're taking the one from them to help fund this, right? We're hiring a position. So essentially what we're doing is compensating by that is taking the jail off of the shoulders of the sheriff to allow him more time to do patrol versus dividing his time with the detention center. So to me, I mean,
yeah, and like you said, nothing's in statute court would prevent a future sheriff or things getting better where it goes back that way. But at the time when Tommy was the sheriff, the recommendation from the jail committee was to have it removed from.
Yeah.
Right, for those reasons, because we're going to take the deputy and then also.
So the workload mainly on work.
Okay, so in other words, I'd like to get this, I mean, straight so everybody agrees.
But like you said, they are kind of tied together. And
Yeah,
they're
they
gonna
are.
have to definitely
So
work together.
any time that the administrator would need to get a hold of the sheriff is a time of emergency. Otherwise, all the financial, all the other aspects would go through the county commissioners for any improvements or anything that need to be done or any personnel problems that they foresee. So
Yeah, they'd be
that
kind of like
leaves
their own
him free.
department head. So like right
Yes.
now, the sheriff does his budget and how many cars and how many guys he has. Ronnie kind of does the dispatch
Right.
with the 911 monies and the monies we give her.
Yeah.
And then so this head jailer would kind of set the budget for care of inmates, all of that.
Right.
So
Administrator.
that's kind of why it was suggested this lead jailer wouldn't be union. It would be
Yes.
kind of like,
An administrator.
Yes, administrator, that's the word. That's it. I agree with that.
but there is going to be an interwoven relationship with the sheriff's department, just like
Oh, of
with
course.
dispatch. I mean,
Yeah.
the sheriff uses the radio, the dispatchers respond to them, they're all still a
Yeah.
team. Ronnie runs it separate
Right,
from, the deputies, but
okay.
Hey, Boone,
Here's your book.
do you have time in your schedule to have staff meetings once a week with your sub-departments?
Depending on what their schedule is.
Because there were staff meetings and you were apprised of what was going on a weekly basis to make sure that that might be something to chew on.
I mean, we all have emails too. If we can't be on the same schedule. That's the biggest thing. It's not budgetarily feasible to have overtime once a week to have these meetings. I mean, if we had a bigger budget maybe, but the way our schedules are, it's pretty tough.
Time and money is a
Yeah.
big obstacle for us.
So what's the completion date, Boone, do you think that you'll have that painted so that, I mean, not to say we want to flip our open sign, but I would think we'd want to do it soon. I mean, we should have it. To me, what my biggest thing why I'm here today is that I want a date. Like,
Yeah.
that part of it, obviously in the hiring process, if we can't fill the spot, that changes things, but I think we should have a date of saying 30 days from today. Our goal is to have it staffed. The other thing I remember Ms. Lewis saying is any of the detention officers to shadow, that type of thing, administrators shadowing, that part. But to me, if we try to shoot for 30 days or something, and with that, then
Yeah, my plan was
I think
to
the
have
community would like to know that too, is this
Yes.
is the goal.
Yeah, my plan was to have it ready to go by the first of the year. I mean, I hope it's on track for
Yeah.
that, but, but I can't predict the employee portion of it.
right.
But the physical
The physical.
jail will be ready to go.
I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is get that bench built and get that exam room remodified.
And I looked you up yesterday, but you were out to make sure what the plans were on that, so I can get going on it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the number 4 here was the county will reduce the number of deputies by 1 for a period of time to fund the jailers and the administrator, and that's why we had the quickest in ever history union negotiations, because we finally were able to provide a little more incentive monetarily. So that's been done, and to shore that up, just as a sidebar note, I think Ernie's been working with you, and I gave Ernie the number of that Senator Daines' aide.
Yep.
'Cause I guess there was a snafu on when the opening comes, and they're gonna try to see what they can do to move that up or expedite it or
Yeah, see
find
if
us
there's
some.
any funds left or
Yeah.
something, and I don't believe Ernie's heard back from
Okay.
them, so.
And then the next part, number 5, and I guess clarification with the committee being here, the county separate the detention center from the sheriff's office and have the detention center administrator report directly to the commissioners.
Yeah, that's
That's-
what we were looking at.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's something it sounds like we still want to revisit, or like we were talking about on an emergency basis.
Yeah.
If an administrator has an emergency at 2:00 in the morning, you're going to go to the
Yeah, I
sheriff.
mean, that, I
They're not gonna
don't
try to
see
get
it,
hold
I
of all
don't
three
see
of
it.
them.
There's an
I
exception to
guess
every rule.
Right.
the way I see that part is, the inner cooperation, that just stays the same. I just looked at it as more as the budgetary.
Accountability.
Right.
The
Mhm.
the supervision of the employees, then that part of it.
Right, the
But
day-to-day is going to be the administrator.
The idea that just when a deputy drops someone off at the detention center, they lose the responsibility of caring for them, no. If they need help in the detention center for anything, I mean.
And that's what we have to make sure we're very clear about too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally more.
Because we still need team. I remember one time I brought in a guy who normally, I could talk him down into being compliant. This guy was madder than a hornet, and thank God jailer Dave Brown was as big as he was, because I needed him to come in that holding room and sit on that guy while we got him under control. So, I mean,
Yeah, you just gotta, that's,
yeah, and if Dave wasn't willing to help me, or vice versa, where would we be?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the whole, just administration.
Mhm.
That's the.
And for protection between the sheriff's office and the county commissioners and the administrators, it should be written down. Everything should be formulated, so everybody takes a look at it and agrees to it. So that way, assumptions, everybody's got them, and they assume this should be and this should be, but if it's not written down, it's an
Or it's
assumption.
not my job, or,
Exactly.
sometimes that's, yeah.
Clarification, everything.
And
needs to be
communication, we've got to communicate.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And speaking on behalf of the deputies, regardless of how, it works,
Yeah.
how it ends up, yeah, that's always gonna be, if there's a problem in the jail, all they do is call us and we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
And that's does not matter, and I know I can talk on behalf of every deputy. Doesn't matter how it ends up. If they need help, we'll be there, and
Right on.
that is what it is. That won't ever change regardless of anything.
Part 6, the county will request that upon completion of the maintenance and painting, the detention center members of Missoula County come out and inspect the facility prior to it remote opening. Sounds like you've kind of already done a little bit.
Already
there.
done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7, the county open up a line of communication with Missoula County regarding assistance with the operation of the detention center and the ability to possibly use some of their officers for training and supervision, probably that job shadowing you're referring.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
they're,
they're all about whatever. Missoula said, asked what our budget was for the jail, and they said that literally could be it's not even like a month or something. It was just comparatively so. So the resources available for us to pull from are so much more in Missoula, what they have to offer and are willing to help us with. So I think the DOC thing too is something that we should explore at the hospital then, I guess, to how to sit there and not generate jobs or money or business for the hospital.
when you were over there, did you bump into Mr. Gleason by chance?
No, Oh, I wouldn't have seen him because it was so foggy in there.
Oh. Oh.
I hope I didn't bump into him. The door is locked and I could hear someone shivering inside.
And finally, number 8, 8.1, the county will apply for a COPS grant, and that's
We're working on that.
working on that. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, like I said, at 10 o'clock, we'll be going through some of these applications. And yeah, like Lance, if, like you said, if the one for the lead jailer or the administrator looks like it could be some sharper applications, and maybe we'll...
Yeah, I think of getting that person, I mean, ideally, in my mind, that's the first person to get hired so that they start taking on and going the direction they want to go.
Yeah. I haven't seen him, I don't know. I guess we'll find out at 10 what kind of pool we have, but yes.
I would like to bring up another idea for the discussion for the jail contracts and stuff. So right now Durango's has the jail food contract and stuff, and I feel that that's still ongoing and everything. Some people are suggesting, since it was an automatic close and everything, that, you know, there should be some kind of reimbursement because the contract says 30 days and all that stuff, but I feel it's still ongoing, and that's not even an issue. I didn't know if anybody here was worried about that Durango's was going to do anything about the contract and the 30-day notice and all that kind of stuff, but it's not even on
I thought the
radar.
There wasn't a contract.
It had expired, but it was kind of just still ongoing until
It's
further...
ongoing, it's
Okay.
expired, but it's always ongoing until somebody, yeah, it says it in there.
Until
So
something-
there is a contract, it's just an ongoing contract until something changes. or
This
something.
might be an opportunity then to look at the
Yeah, and that's
cook chill.
fine. So, and the Durango's is here for you guys when you start opening up and everything like that. But since you're talking about hiring an administrator, I wanted to go back and talk about, a couple months ago, the idea of doing in-house food and everything was brought up. And I would encourage you guys to revisit that. Some of the numbers are not exactly correct, and that was one of my one of the things I had issue with, is that, you know, there was missing some food, and so the food cost wasn't exactly correct, and also that I felt strongly that you would need to add a part-time person for labor to handle the food things. There's administrative things to going with the food and special meals and nutritional things, and there's a whole bunch more that I do at Durango's that covers that at the time I didn't feel that there was somebody on staff that had that and time to do that. So I didn't think that there was a cost savings at all for you guys. It would probably just be the same because you would have to hire somebody and everything. So it was presented as a cost savings of about $20,000 to $30,000 or something if you did in-house food things. But that I'm objecting to right now. It was not. Anyway, so but if you're going to hire an administrator, that person should have those duties. That should be part of the duties of the administrator, is doing the food. And so then you would be hiring somebody, like I thought you would have to do my part over there. But naturally, this administrator would have, I mean, naturally that would be their duties and everything. Yes, there's startup costs, and I would think that you should get new numbers on the startup costs because it was presenting as a cost savings. And so since there were some numbers that weren't correct on the food cost savings, I'm thinking if you revisit the equipment and actually how much you would need, and the, you know, the freezer space and the ovens, I mean, if you really revisited that, I think your cost of equipment might be a little bit higher also. But I do think if you're going to hire an administrator, if you should do the food in-house, because it would be a savings then, because your administrator would be doing the ordering for the food, the nutritional parts, and all this stuff that really should be part of their job. And then you would probably have about $20,000 to spend on that position. It's not going to be a savings because it's just going to be an equal. And the first year, yes, you would have to pay a little bit more because you'd have to have the equipment and everything. But after that, you would have about $20,000 to put into the salary for the administrator, because you're going to be paying for that anyway. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's not really a
It's
savings.
definitely
It's only a savings if we kept the contract and you didn't do it in-house and you hired an administrator and stuff. Then you're going to have a savings. Right now, without the administrator and all the people you have, it's not a savings.
Okay. and
At all.
I wanted to clarify something.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that we go to the freezer meals that other facilities use? Or are you
Yes.
suggesting that the jail administrator is responsible for prepping and cooking and serving the inmates their
No, it'd be
meals?
the
Yeah.
freezer meals.
I'm confused on
No,
what you're.
it was what was presented months ago, was the freezer meals and that whole contract thing with the freezer meals.
So you were just revisiting that?
I was-
Okay.
yeah.
I was
Something to.
just wanting to clarify.
No, no, no.
Yeah, 'cause
You
we
guys don't
didn't
want to
talk
cook your own
about that
food
issue at all.
and do all that
Right,
stuff.
right.
It's just the freezer meals. There's a whole bunch of problems that you have with special meals. There's a whole bunch of rotating the food you'd have to do. There's a whole bunch of problem solving ahead of time, because you have 20 inmates now and you have to order your food 3 days earlier, and then you have 30 inmates and then you don't have enough. And I mean, there's just a whole bunch that I don't think was in the proposal in the beginning. And so I kept saying, you're going to have another part-time person to do that. And this labor that you're paying that part-time person to do is going to cost the same as your contract with Durango's right now. And it wouldn't be a cost savings. But now if you're doing the administrator, technically that should be part of their job. The ordering the food, the rotating the food, I mean, not physically handing it to them, the
Right.
detention officers do that, but they need to know the nutritional values, they need to know all that stuff. And really, to hire an administrator and not have them do this part is a little bit like, they're not doing all, and you're paying a little bit more than I think you should, because I would think an administrator would do this. Durango's is here for you guys. I mean, really, we would love to keep the contract and stuff, but we're also here for the county and everything. And I know it was presented that, we're making all this profit and everything, and that's never been the case. And my sole objection was, I didn't feel that the numbers you guys were given were adequate and correct. And being on a board myself for 8 years, if I'm gonna vote on something, I want my facts and numbers to be correct, so I know exactly what I'm voting for. But like I said, if you're hiring this person, it makes sense, and you would take, probably, I don't know, you need to redo the numbers, but I thought it was almost 30. I would say 10 of that was probably not correct. So I would say $20,000 a year, and you could put it towards that salary. That's what I'm saying. So, you guys could wait until you have the administrator, and then they could figure out what they would need and do all this stuff, and that'd be all great, and Durango's could keep, serving the food until that happens. Or, you guys could figure out what you need now, but I think, then, and I know it's gonna be initial cost because you need equipment and everything, but since we're redoing the jail and making it nice or whatever, now would be the time to do add a little bit more money to it and have it done, and then it's done, and you're starting all fresh. That's just my opinion, but I wanted to put it out there.
All right,
But like I said, Durango's still here with the contract, and we're here for you, but
okay, good.
just wanted that approach too.
All right. Well, we hit on all 8 points, and I guess we're gonna go forward with the suggestions and look at some applications and move on, unless there's further points, questions, clarification.
No, I just think, like I said, I think we all need to have it planned first of the year.
Mhm.
That's to
Yeah,
me.
a good target, I think, too. It sounds like from the paper, there's a lot of jails that are needing some room. So maybe we
Yeah,
can-
that could be short-term too, with the way DOC is right now.
How many, Boone, are we housing currently out of county right now? 2 or 1?
2, I think it is.
I think it's 3 now.
Is it 3?
Yep. Yeah, we gotta,
What in costs have we paid for housing our people since this shutdown?
It's $69.50 a day at Sanders County, right?
I think 69 flat.
69 flat.
oh, I was thinking.
And then that sounds like maybe a lot, but when you take into context that we're down 4 or 5 jailers, we're not bleeding money yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went down to deputies. But yeah, I forgot the rest the other night.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
so there's only 3 up there,
Mhm.
and possibly 1 here next week will turn DOC or MSP or something. They're recording their sentencing.
Trying to think of who that is. Yeah, actually, we're bringing, I think all 3 of the people up in Sanders have to come to court next week, so.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, this is where we're starting to get into the
That's where it's gonna start.
transports, and then we
Yeah.
have another person over in Missoula who's supposed to be over here next week, so.
Yeah.
We're not paying for the
But we
Missoula one,
haven't,
though.
no, yeah, she's in on a Missoula
Okay.
warrant on a revocation, I think, so we're not paying for her, but this is where we're starting to just run into transportation. I mean, it's been tough for the officers because it takes time to get, for the deputies to get people up there, but I think this next week is going to be our toughest, trying to figure out how do we get people, and we're trying to do VisionNet. I think we're going to try to do the VisionNet through Missoula. With their busy court calendar, it's always tricky, but everybody's been really good trying to work with us, so.
They have court every day there. Makes it a little rough.
Well, thank you, Lance and Gordon, for taking time out of your morning to stop in today. Well, I saw you already here at the courthouse, so I didn't think I needed to thank you as much. But thank you.
As much.
As much.
As much.
And do you think we could get, well, I'm sure Missoula's been so good, but we can get examples of jail administrator job descriptions, because I think that's where we're going to be able to.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good.
Got it from
Okay.
Sanders County. Yeah.
Oh, great, because then we can look at it to make sure we get that whole aspect of the food, or even if we keep with Durango's, that the administrator is the one that is making sure that's going smoothly. Yeah.
Well, and before, the detention supervisor always sat with Durango's to go over the meals, that kind of stuff, so that wouldn't really be any different than.
Just a different person doing it.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
But I would think it would be more smoother, because
Yeah.
this person would have background and knowledgeable things, and kind of in the food area. It's hard because our everyday nutritional values are not what is supposed to be healthy and standard for nutritional values and stuff. So they would have some background on all that.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that, but at this point, this is just my opinion. If you're taking a jail administrator and you're putting them over dispatch, you're putting them over the jail, you're putting them over all these things. Right now, we're having a hard time finding a person with qualifications to suit that we can afford a rate of pay to. So then adding a food background on top of that, I'm not saying it's impossible, don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that's asking a lot for the rate of pay that we're offering, especially if you're going to put them over dispatch as well. Because initially, when we discussed it, the last time we had the meeting, we had said that the jail administrator was going to concentrate specifically on the jail and not on dispatch. And so if that person is also going to administer over the jail, which is of course fine, now that is more people that they are, and more responsibilities under that job title for the rate of pay of which it would be offered. And so, I mean, obviously we can't offer what we'd like to either way, but that's a lot, even still, that's going to be more for the rate of pay that we're offering.
Well, you just don't know what experience they're going to have.
Right.
Exactly.
And then the
Just
fluidity
don't
of.
I mean, if you got a person that isn't, I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, like the idea of DOC doing something out here. There's all hopes and things, but let's, I guess to me is get it started.
Yes.
I mean, you can
Yeah,
always
that's
improve
something
once
you'd
it's
have
going,
to-
but you can't improve anything when it's shut down.
Yeah, that's something you'd have to go to on Gleason within the board.
Well, you could
the
work with
hospital
Missoula
board.
and they figure out how they can do it. I mean, it's not, all of that education that a person would need for nutrition is less than an hour away.
Right. And the thing is just because we had it separated, I was the nutritional person for you guys, basically, doesn't mean that that's normal. I would say that an administrator for a jail in the job description, if you do whatever, I'm pretty sure nutritional whatever is in that job description already. So I think that's a standard. Just because we were different doesn't mean that, and I know it feels like we're adding something, but if we look at what their duties really are, that's going to be part of it. I mean, safety, food, nutrition, I mean, really, that's standard. So I don't think that that's what, and like I said, not the initial year because you'd have your startup costs for your equipment, but the second year, you would have that money to go towards, if you needed to bump up your salary or something. I mean, realistically, you do have that. You will have $20,000 out of this, whether you're paying me for labor to do it or whether you're paying your administrator labor to do it. I mean, that's a given because the food costs. My bid includes my labor and my nutritional knowledge and all that stuff, and then the nutritionists we have to have on staff, and I mean, includes all that stuff. So, it would be the same, but you guys would be paying it in-house to your guy. I mean, the food cost is set food costs, mine are set food costs. But of course my bid is over that because I have labor. I mean, I had to cut a part-time person because the jail closed. I mean, that labor, you guys would be paying for in-house. So there will be, like I said, a savings if you didn't do it in-house and hired an administrator and then had my contract. But right now you haven't had somebody in that position that would have been able to do that without increasing hours or something. And then, like I said, the labor would be the same. So it's either in-house or you're paying me to do it.
Yeah, I look at it the same way. It's a cost you're gonna have whether you just do it in-house or out.
Yes.
It doesn't, but what I see Jolie's point is it's potentially an easy way to increase wages at no cost to the county.
Yes,
and I think that always is, and that's the same thing as why an administrator in my mind is so important is to, and when Missoula's here is to work those phone lines to find out where we can pull federal inmates in that as part of their job to see that we're running it instead of, it's like a hotel in a weird way, but you want your occupancy rate as high as you can keep it to balance out a known cost that we have of, say, $300,000 a year. Well, if we can take in enough income to where it cuts that number from anything from $300,000 down, you're not making a profit. You're just not expending the expenses that you would normally have to pay, and that's why the administrator to me is important. It's morning every morning as you're looking and saying, well, we've got 18. Can we find 4 more? And that's just using the economies of scale to keep your facility full will justify increasing wages too.
Right.
Because it'll be less of a budget.
The first of the years when we set the cost for inmates, so it'd be a perfect time.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, having someone that is, calling other people, what are you charging? And actually figuring out what it does cost.
Yes.
Like I said, we're implementing booking fees now, fingerprint fees and all that sort of thing. So up in what we didn't have or had what we didn't use before, like other agencies. So that'll help offset things as well.
Ellen, one of the things I was thinking of too is, I haven't thought it through all the way, but with a lot of my clients, they would either pay to, I know an example, Ravalli counties they're always overpopulated, and so you have to schedule time for people to do misdemeanor jail time.
We've had that year a couple times where we couldn't get them in.
Right, and so, but if there is openings, I mean, my clients would be glad to pay to just be able to get it done, So I think there's some other.
I left a message.
So instead of being in, say, it costs you $70 a day to be in jail, they would pay the cost for not being in jail?
If you get a sentence out of Ravalli and they're full, your person that has to work to schedule it or do that. But if Ravalli, I would assume would be fine if they did their time in Mineral County, but Mineral County would just bill them for it.
Right, so they would still do their time.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually have done that for a long time, where if one of our people is sentenced here to X amount of days, and let's say they live in Spokane, they can go serve their time in Spokane and pay their daily rate, but they have to pay it up front. Same thing, we've had people that have been sentenced in Washington or Idaho, and they're over here visiting, so they schedule it ahead of time. They pay us our rate, they have to pay it ahead of time in order to serve that time. So most of the counties are really good, regardless of whether in-state or out-of-state, of
Right.
helping
And sometimes
fulfill
they,
that bedtime.
sometimes they can't. You know, we'll
No matter
know,
what,
or Judge
yeah.
McGowan will know that, oh no, we know Spokane can't do this right now.
Some of the
or something,
counties,
but yeah.
you get sentenced to 10 days, well, you can do 5 and pay for 5.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen that
So-
yet. Oh.
At least that opens that bed up for 5 extra days for somebody else, and we're still getting the money for it.
And they're still saying, of course, under the agreement of the judge, they're still saying, staying compliant to
Yep.
Huh.
their sentence.
Or, I mean, I think there's options too, is, you know, you can do a home arrest, but you still pay for the cost of incarceration, something like that. But there's, and I think that's with an administrator, there's
Right.
different sources and different areas that just, that's what they'll be doing.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Right,
coming.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julie.
All right. Thank you for the audience.
Thanks
Appreciate
for-
that.
Your input. And very good.
So are you gonna set up a committee to look at these or these?
Yeah, at 10
candidates?
o'clock, we're gonna look at some of these applications and then schedule some interviews and schedule them in. And get going on that, so that maybe we can have this happen, like you said, at the end of the month.
Great.
Well, I think, like Lance said, you know, the administrator would be number one, to get them spun up.
Mhm.
Yep.
And obviously, if they're not detention qualified, they're gonna have to go to the academy as well.
Oh, God, yeah, there is a cost factor.
Yeah, it's not a huge cost factor, but I mean, it is something. And
Well,
then
yeah.
just 5 weeks that they're gone too.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how long they're
Well,
on?
Every one that we hire, if they're not detention qualified, 5 weeks are gone.
Well, and then you also have to look at FTO training.
Yep.
They have to be certified, so then you've got time away for FTO. Granted, the FTO doesn't have to be immediate because they only, just like with the academy, it's on a rotation of how many classes at the academy are offered. You know, I think the next rotation is January on the academy for detention officers, but FTO school, they don't offer that as often as.
Well, Mike, are you gonna have time to sit in on our panel when we interview everybody for these?
I think AJ's here today, no?
Yeah, no, I'm here
Oh,
covering it.
So that'll help cover calls unless he gets something big, then I would have.
Oh, I
to-
mean, like, in the future, when we actually schedule for Bob, Bill, and Susie to come in and interview them.
Yeah, as long as I'm not the only one out, you know, if I
Right.
am, I'll try to, but if I get a call, I gotta
Okay.
go, you know.
Yeah. We'll let you know then when we get those scheduled and see. if we-
Okay.
All right, well, thanks, everybody.
You bet, thank you.
Before you run,
1:36, so because of time crunch, yes, Candace, you're holding me up.
An email from Candace, I think, to help.
Thought I'd let Jen go first because she's got a time schedule.
Yes.
So Jen will update us on the health department.
Sure. Well, things are still cruising. Communicable disease-wise, we've only had 9 in October and November, but in September and August, we had 19. So we've still been busy. And immunization-wise, we gave 161 in, I'm reporting on October and November because I haven't been here in a while.
Is that
We-
flu shot, you mean?
It was flu shots and other vaccines. We did hold 5 vaccination clinics for flu specifically around the county. And then as of the 28th of November, our refrigerator froze all of our vaccines.
Oh, no.
I know. Yep. Barb had given some shots and went home, and at 5:30, our temperature just tanked. Big problem. So the state, luckily, is not having us reimburse any of vaccine that was lost. And I'm working with Casey to get a claim into the insurance to recoup the private vaccine that the county bought. And then one of the companies will help if the insurance doesn't cover all of it. So that's a bummer. We're not allowed to get any more vaccine from the state until we fix our fridge, which we just bought in March. So
you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. It's been a real hassle. So
Still be under warranty?
it is 3 years of warranty. In fact, when we called them, they said, "Oh, you just need to adjust your altitude thingy." And so I looked through the whole manual, and there's nothing about it because it's a special thing that needs to be done. So, anyways, bummer. Billing wise, there's a new billing program. Ashley's been successfully billing. We found out that Medicaid and Medicare directly deposit, and we have received more money than we've spent out for our vaccines, so we're doing well there. Barb in the tobacco use prevention program, the Great American Smokeout was on November 16th, so she did a lot of promotion across the county for that. As a reminder, there's no tobacco use on county-owned property, and e-cigarette use in local teens has significantly increased, and so we've been working on trying to curb that. They've had a lot of suspensions in the school, and we're trying to figure out how to educate teens and parents in that risk. But really, the research and is just starting to come out about e-cigarettes and whatnot. So we don't know a ton about them yet. In our Parents as Teachers program, we have 28 kiddos. We have capacity to visit 40, so we're accepting referrals. Exciting news is that we were awarded the Blue Ribbon Affiliate status, which means that in the Parents as Teachers world, they have 17 essential requirements you have to meet. And then if you're meeting at least 75 of an additional 100 more things, then you get this status, and we are. So it's an endorsement for 5 years as long as we continue to have a quality program.
What is that? Does that get any extra benefits?
Potentially for future funding.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully we're able to.
It's not just a sticker.
It is right now, totally just a feather in the hat. It was not optional to do the process, and it was a ton of work, so I'm actually glad it happened, and I was telling them, I don't think we can do it. It's just not worth my time or yours, but
she gets a nice sticker for her fridge.
Okay.
Says do not open.
And then for our group connections, we are starting to do evening ones again to encourage more families to come. We actually have one tonight in St. Regis at 5:30. We have 36 people who said they're going to show up, so hopefully you guys are all welcome to come. If you ever have kiddos or grandkids in town and you're just curious about it, come on over. And all 3 of our staff members are now trained in as certified lactation counselors, so if that ever pops up as a need that you hear in the community, you can refer them to us.
What kind of counseling?
Lactation, so breastfeeding
Oh,
support.
okay.
And then
I couldn't hear. That wasn't a joke.
It's not a word you probably throw out often. So
Roman's starting up a dairy herd. You thought maybe you could get some assistance.
I thought you said bactation. That's why I said.
yeah, no, that would be confusing.
Yeah.
Fetal, infant, child, maternal mortality review. That's where we review all the deaths of anybody in those groups. We have 2 cases that we're going to have to follow up on and try to figure out if those deaths were preventable. And exciting, we have 2 employees at the health department who were trained as certified car seat installation technicians. So if that comes up as a need as well, just call the health department, and Ashley is one of them, and so she can probably visit them anytime. She's there most of the time. Our Best Beginnings funding is going to be continued despite all the cuts at the state level, and so that's exciting because that helps support our Healthy Communities Coalition. And the Headwaters Foundation of Western Montana, which was developed when they sold Community Hospital, they are still coming and visiting with us about funding, potential funding sources, and they're going to be doing quite a few grants, I think. $4 million worth of grants or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So they've pursued counties across Western Montana, and they are really trying to figure out what these communities need, and they're going to provide those. In the school nursing world, we've seen a huge upswing in seasonal illness, lots of GI stuff, and colds. Everybody says they have the flu, but we've actually had no positive flus yet. So if people are talking about the flu a lot, encourage them to go get swabbed. it's really not going to tell us much. Basically, everybody just needs to stay home when they're sick, wash your hands, before you eat, before you touch your face, after you go to the bathroom. Very, very basic stuff. But there is quite a bit of illness going around the whole county. And we did all of our immunization audits. They were due December 1st, so that makes that we do that to make sure every kiddo is in compliance with Montana state law. It's a big job. In the world of WIC, everybody's been converted to the card, which required double visits in the last 3 months, and I currently have 54 people that I'm seeing for WIC, and I have new ones every single week, so I don't know if people are more drawn to the e-WIC thing where they have the debit card versus the checks, but either way it's fine. And then me, I have been kind of developing my position, I suppose, my skills in this position. So I'm participating in a mentorship program, which is just giving me leadership skills and learning more about the Montana public health system. I actually went to the State Department of Health and did an orientation with them, so I was able to visit with each department. And it was kind of cool because I got to learn about funding and programs and things that are out there. So really, if people have any health-related concerns or requests, you can send them our way and we can see if we have any resources or know anything about that. I'm so happy to report that we are interviewing for an RN position next week. So, And we've also been trying to update our billboards. You might have seen them, just our little, I forget what they're called, cork boards around the town. So if you have any ideas on what you would like information on, let us know. Thank you.
What do you know, like I heard on the radio that 2 people died of the flu in Lake County over 65. Are they in a hospital setting or they just stay home too long, or what do you know about those kinds of when death results from that?
I don't know about those 2 cases in particular. Flu is so controversial because people will say, oh, I'm not getting the flu shot, I got the flu from the flu shot, or it doesn't work, or, all these things. And for some people, flu can be fairly mild, but for your higher risk groups, the older folks and your kiddos, it can be deadly, or people who are pregnant. And so it really just depends on how it hits you in particular. Yeah, flu, you can take an antiviral in the beginning if you catch it early. But other than that, if you're not within a certain time frame, I think it's the first few days, then you have to just wait it out. And it really impacts respiratory systems, and so folks who have compromised systems can end up dying. It's tricky, so yeah. Thanks for asking.
And you'll notify me when you can have those.
Yes.
Oh, and I was going to ask, is that done every year, or is it just depending on if there is an infant mortality?
It's only if we have a mortality.
Okay, and you have to do it within a certain amount of time, or is
Within a year.
Within a year? Okay.
So all 2017 deaths are due by November 2018. So we have a little bit of time, and I'm actually trying to rework the team. So we'll make sure that if you want to participate, you can, and you'll be there for sure.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Stick around as long as you want. If you got to go, we understand.
And 15 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Judge McGowan, what's new in your office?
Still chugging along. Judge Dryden's been awesome to work with. He's helping us out a lot, and he's more than happy to. And I just got off the phone with him, and it's fortunate that we have Sanders County and him down there to help us. Well, I've been talking with Sheriff Boone too about the book and release. We do a lot of the book and release like on DUI First or something, where they're not even transferred down to Sanders County. They're just they're booked. They come in then on the next business day and do their initial appearance, and that's been working pretty well. Most people are pretty good about that. Also, we've been talking to about when they do book and release, they charge $15 on book and release, and then if they are jailed, it's $25.
Well, it'd be agency. Like some of the other counties are doing a booking fee that I talked about earlier today. So it's an initial $25 booking fee, and then like $69 a day or whatever we come up with for that price. In the past, we've never done that, but other agencies are, because there's that initial cost there, and we've always absorbed that. So we're gonna probably take that into effect here real quick when we open back up, so.
And we're also working with the jail, when people come in, try to talk them into doing community service and work in the jail, in lieu of fines. And we've had a few people take us up on that. I don't know if anybody showed up or not.
Well, we've got 2 right now. We just got somebody else, one individual that day never did show up, so. That's part for the course, you know.
And there was another defendant today too that I talked to him about that. He seemed pretty interested.
Good.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good way to go about it. Get help there and get this thing up and running as quick as we can. Again, it's fortunate we have Sanders County that to help us out, and they're very happy to. But still, it's a lot of transportation and hassle for the sheriff's department. Oh, citations we're at 576 citation count ahead of last year at the same time. So it's continued to go up. It's mainly highway patrol and highway traffic speeding citations. So everybody's been busy doing that. We had 23 hearings today, so we're staying pretty busy.
And we're back to 2 days a week.
Yeah.
It was down to 1 day a week, but it's too much.
Yeah, that was
So
way
now
too
we have
much.
justice court twice a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the trials up too, or just the appearances?
Well, we've had trials scheduled, but most of them ended up being plea bargain agreement or
You must have a
something.
pretty good county attorney.
No, just lucky. My goodness, gosh, don't jinx me.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, trials, I don't mind them, but they take a lot of time.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's just,
Some are city, too.
right, you just had a city one, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple bench trials scheduled, but, well, they're kind of put off now until January, and I think we do have one jury trial scheduled,
Yeah.
but wait and see. Collections are up quite a bit.
Oh, good.
We're at 190, a little over 190,000 right now for this year, and last year at this time was about 175. So we're close to $15,000 ahead in collections. So we're doing good that way. Luckily, Mr. Curtilla was supposed to hold some of those hearings today, but he was on the phone rather than in person because he has a combination of bubonic plague and leprosy.
Yeah,
So
I
I
went
really
through
didn't
and
want to
rabies too.
So I really didn't want him to come in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see pieces dropping off.
Yeah.
I went to driver's ed with a kid. I had
Yeah,
driver's
he's
ed with a
going
kid,
to.
and he kept flunking because he was a leper. He kept leaving his foot on the gas.
I didn't want to see his ear.
If y'all
That's
keep
going on Facebook.
laughing, you'll keep saying things like that.
It's like my father's in the room.
But things have been going along good. We're staying busy. Hopefully we'll get the jail up and running.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Sheriff Boone.
Well, like I said, we're working hard to get this thing up and running as quickly as possible, obviously. I don't see anything in the future that's gonna stop us from having the jail up and going. It's just other than the employee portion of it, you know, that might be the slow
Depending on
down.
how experienced they are, if we
Yeah.
can start having inmates immediately or not.
Yeah, exactly. I think the building, as far as building wise goes, I think we're on track. I think things are gonna go along fairly smooth there. We hired a deputy, starts on the 14th. Lori helped us out with that. Came in, we thought it was a regular day, but things kind of changed at the last second. So our plan was to bring him in on a regular day when everybody was here, but luckily Lori was here and we did a swearing in, took some pictures, and his name's Bry Townsley. We stole him from Missoula County.
Really?
So they were kind of bummed out, but they said, well,
Instead of the reverse.
I was gonna say, how does that work?
he took a cut and pay to come here. So.
Well, he just liked the great outdoors or something?
Yeah, and he's a small town guy.
Oh.
So
Nice.
he seems like he's a good guy. looks like he's gonna blend in real well with us, so.
Good.
He's gonna be living out there in Frenchtown, or not Frenchtown, Alberton, so, in there with, Travis, yeah,
Oh, okay.
couldn't think there for a second, with Travis, so that'll help Travis out, he's got somebody there, he's not, won't be so lonely type
Right.
of thing, you know, you're out there by yourself, and you can only watch the paint dry for so long before you start pulling your hair out, but, like I said, I think he's gonna be a good fit,
Good.
so,
Townley?
Townsley, yeah,
Huh.
so,
What small town does he originally hail from, do you know?
no, I don't.
No.
I think he moved out a little bit here, but he's been in Missoula for, I want to say 3.5 years now.
Wow.
So, which is good because I'd rather have him that, you know, he worked in the jail there, so he gets that experience of dealing with these type of individuals, and that's a huge benefit in my perspective. You know, when you don't have a gun and all the things around, all the tools of ignorance around your waist, you know. That verbal judo is a good thing.
Yeah.
So he's had the jailer training, but he hasn't had deputy or
No,
been
so
to
he'll
one.
go through the FTL program here, and then we'll lose him for 12 weeks at the academy, so, you know, there's a 6-week or 6-month period that we won't have him, but that's all part of the game, you know, so. And he said no issues on signing a 3-year contract, so,
All right.
Nice.
yeah, so, I got him locked in now.
Excellent.
Yeah, so, but things are turning around, looking good, so. One thing at a time, you know.
Mr. Tim.
Oh, yeah. Those signs in the back.
Sewer permits, planning subdivisions, any work. That's enough.
That's it? Did you want Candace to take over for you?
No.
You can cut that down
She's
next
gonna be
Yeah.
mom.
So what's really going on, Candace?
Shyrock was platted, so we have 29 lots.
Yeah.
Add the rolls, they've already sold a couple. Don't use the word, if it starts with T anymore. Idaho Forest Group have come in, they wanted a permit for a new 43,000 square foot office building out there. It's a 3 triple wide modular type thing. I don't know how many people are gonna stuff in that. Whole new set of comfort stations, and women's bathrooms, all kinds of
I heard
stuff.
they were pulling in break rooms and.
Trying to find a place to put the drain field, so we got out there a directional drill program and drilled under half the Tricon plant out there to come up with a drain field place. So it's kind of pleasant to work with a group like that. We got a really good engineer to steer things along out there and stuff. So probably
So will that increase tax? Bring in buildings like that or not?
A little bit, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the modular, so lower tax rate, right? Because they can be moved. Or
Yeah, depends on if they put them on a permanent foundation or not.
So should already
If they
start
leave the
my
wheels
request
on,
for
it still counts
deputy.
as a vehicle. If they take them off, then it's a house.
Or you can start spending on money.
Pretty much.
Driving through that Shyrock there, I see there's some tiny houses in there.
park models.
Is that what they classify?
What's that?
Is that what they classify it as, for tiny
Those
houses?
are considered park models. They do the size and do the makeup like that, but fit in the situation out there for the Class A's. But I think they've already sold a lot out there, so.
Yep.
do you know?
And then if you pull in your monster motorhome and decide you've had enough time in your motorhome and you wanna then stay in the little park model, you can stay in there for a while.
Do we know how do we tax those park models? Are they like a trailer house or?
They're not titled like a
Really?
trailer. So they'll be, depending on if they're on a permanent foundation, they'll be part of real estate.
Oh, good.
If they're not and have wheels, then it's still just the lot. And a little bit, I don't know how. I don't know.
It seemed like they were skirting them in and setting them up permanently.
They're gonna be permanent. It's an either or. You don't park a motorhome on the park home. It's one or the other.
No, but Gail did say that they could use those if they wanted to. That that's what they had them for, is the people if they wanted to get out of their motorhome.
Frank Ragland put a park model up in this place supposedly, but
Yes.
the park model cost $70,000.
Really?
A little more than average. Filling in West Mountain Estates, sold a couple more lots in there recently.
Is that the one off the North Frontage Road, Alberton? I can never remember all those mountains in West and River Maine.
What's going on with over here crossing the Big Eddy Broadway?
We don't know. They go in and said, we're doing something, and then it disappeared back into the hills and retreated. They were gonna propose a 5-lot subdivision over there, and we got it all started, and we finally asked them for all the information they need to give me, and heard back from it. The fire season didn't help that project at all.
Yeah.
What about the old Bellevue, Tim, in town, the motel, hotel, and the...
Converting it into 5 living units that are going to be rented out. So we're in the process of readdressing that. I don't consider that commercial or not. I can check to see if there's any building for that. Definitely reworking them with them all over again. At least they'll have new heater systems instead of the old crazy gas hanging on the wall, carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
But it won't be licensable and stuff. I don't know it's gonna be quite some time before she ever tackles the big building, because it still has asbestos.
Those kind of heaters, I don't think you were here yet, but in the mid-80s, we had a big snowstorm on Lookout Pass, and cars were pulling off. They couldn't see, and they were all checking into motels, and they filled them all up. So finally, they had to fill up the old 4D motel in Saltese. And the next morning, a couple never woke up because of that gas.
I know well about that. That was used for about 3 years in a row at Sanitarians Conference.
Oh, is that right?
Whose liability for what? Because everybody got sued. I mean, the county got sued, the health department got sued, everybody under the sun was sued for that death up there. They all had to do some pretty interesting maneuvering to get out of it. And the state paid off in that circumstance, the county paid. So everybody got to share the liability that was exercised and whatnot. Flat Creek, they've taken all of the stuff along the creek and made a great big mound of it out there in the repository and stuff. My 3-year prediction came absolutely true. I said we would be etched out of the repository. We'd have no place to put waste from Superior, from OU1, and that's the case. They've completely blocked us out of there, so they're going to make the town of Superior find some other place to put their waste. But they pretty much spent their $1.6 million up there, come back a little seeding in the spring and finish it off, and then Forest Service has to finish off their lower section down there. The town dodged an incredibly expensive bullet because Adept have to be impressed with that construction crew up there, because they were cutting the old steel pipe above the ground into pieces, and the guy goes, yeah, that's funny, that sure looks like some of that asbestos covered stuff that I saw over at such and such. Anyway, they ran the sample, and instead of having about $8,000 worth of recyclable steel pipe, they turned it into about $30,000 worth of asbestos-containing material that got double wrapped, labeled, and sent off to the landfill at Missoula and stuff. So somebody's going to have to eat that little expensive boy. They're going to take a run at the Forest Service and say, you thought of it, it's your problem, not ours.
Yeah, I'm sitting there.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's going to go. But ultimately, the town superior will get a bill for it at some point.
So is that all in your wild and woolly world, or you got more?
Oh, there's always more.
All right, then we'll go to the lady from Butte.
Hello, just lots going on. Actually, we have court at 2:30 today up in District Court. For those of you who don't know, Lorna Sharkey is leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So I've run somebody else off now.
Good job.
Great
When's
record.
her last day, Ellen?
It was supposed to be the 15th. I asked if she could stay a little bit longer because
Okay.
I was a little bit behind on getting the getting it advertised.
Mhm.
So she did agree to stay till the 22nd, but her sister needs a surgery, so she wants.
So December 15th.
December 22nd. She gave me an extra week.
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
please, just hang on. So with all this change and stuff, and it sounds like we've gotten 7 applicants. So we're going to start. I'll look at those hopefully today or tomorrow, and we'll start interviewing. And
All right.
yeah, and I just need a great gatekeeper. She's not here. I don't know where she is. Yeah, but that's about it. Just very
And
busy.
How is the jail affecting your filing of felonies and whatnot? Is it going along all right? Or?
Well, we were just talking about that in Justice Court today, where there's several people who we would like to issue warrants for because they're not complying, and the court, please come, please come. Okay, now I'm telling you, you must appear. Well, for a misdemeanor offense, it's not a violent offense. We would normally issue a warrant, but since we don't have a jail, we're not. So I was saying, once the jail opens, it's probably going to be flooded because we have all these people who are not compliant. So now we have, the stick to say, you're coming
No
to jail.
more nanner.
Yes, because there's really nothing we can do other than saying, okay, well, let's reset and send them another order to appear. Let's reset another order to
You got
appear.
that broom closet underneath the stairs.
Oh, yeah, but Harry Potter's in there. So,
He can make room.
Yeah, I don't know. But, so that's, And
So they
just,
think they get her free because there's no jail?
I don't know if people are consciously thinking that. They may have done this otherwise,
Yeah,
but
some of those
once
people
once we find them with the warrant, now they're, and if they spend a day in jail or have to bond out, then usually they'll at least communicate with us.
That's the
So,
theory.
Yeah, that's the theory. Some people it works on, some people are, oh my gosh, I had no idea you were trying to reach me or whatever, and, but, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about it.
How about you, Miss Brown, the other leg of the justice system?
Well, like everybody says, we've just been busy. The only thing I have is totally off subject of court. Missoula County had somebody from the state come in discussing retirement, and we haven't had that in a long time around here. So I thought I would, and I got his name and his email address and his phone number, and I thought I'd give it to Casey.
So he's a PER, that's retirement guy?
Mm-hmm.
For the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's familiar with sheriff
retirement versus public employee
as well,
retirement.
so he could answer those questions too. His presentation and questions and everything lasts probably an hour and a half. It's not real long. But he's got a lot of good information. And I think,
Very funny guy.
Yeah.
and I think it's just something that everybody just needs to know, even the young people, just for what's coming up, what to plan for.
Is there Armando Orpeza? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah.
Armando's a really good guy.
He is.
Yeah, he's
Right.
just funny. I
Really, to
love
make
his
retirement funny, that's great.
He does all kinds of stories.
Wow, he does have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
That could be a dry topic. So
He
good
used
for
to
him.
teach at the academy.
Really?
Well, that's why he knows so much about it then.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows a lot of us cops. He does a lot of our retirements too.
So I think that, it would be beneficial to kind of invite him and have him at some point and help everybody else.
If you do that, Casey, we should get that Great West person who does a deferred compensation at the same time. Because I don't know how many people took advantage of that before. I always pitch that because I did that a long time ago at the behest of my FTO training guy, and I'm so glad I did. That's about the only reason I was able to retire. It's like a deferred saving. So before they take all your taxes and hit you, you get to put however much aside in the savings account, and you can have it be like I was chicken, so it was fixed savings, or you can have that money. Great West will put it in high risk, medium risk, low risk, or fixed. And then after you do 30 years, it grows exponentially and it's pre-tax. So then they only tax you once you start to draw it out. Or you can leave it in there, or you can do some one-time big things for college or for house payment. But anyway, did you ever do it, Casey?
No.
I've been harping on her the longest, but yeah, that really helps.
Mhm.
And whenever I got a raise, I would put more into it because my paycheck would stay the same because you know how it is when gross versus net. You don't even notice it's gone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's going in that little bank account going, you get a little
Exactly.
quarterly.
Is
So,
that 457?
yeah, it's a 457 deferred compensation.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if, like, the patrol offers that drop program,
Mm-hmm.
if that's available for SRS.
Yeah, you
too.
can ask him that, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would probably know about that. Yeah. So that good suggestion.
It's just something I think, you know, every once in a while we just need to have.
Well, it's good for the older people because they're getting near to doing it and they want to plan. It's good for the younger people so
Because they
can,
need to know
Yeah.
what to do, that, you know.
so that if they ever leave, they don't cash out their retirement.
Exactly.
Casey.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway, other than that, I don't know. Boone's doing a good job. I sat in on his interviews and all day. And, no, they picked a good person, I think.
Good.
So.
And just to tie into that, this poor guy needs hazard pay because he had to come to my house Saturday morning. No, I still had my ringer off from I had gone to the county attorney's conference.
Oh, yeah.
Billings and forgot to, you have your ringer off and you're texting when you get stuff from work, forgot all about it. And I guess about 5:30 in the morning, I hear pounding on my door and I thought the house was on fire. And yeah, so he got a load of me at 5:30 in the morning and oh boy.
Well, I had my lights on just thinking, yeah, I don't want to get smoked.
Yeah.
You can still see the flashing lights.
Yes, which I did.
Because we know
And
that
that's what
girl
made
from
me think
Butte with
the
a
house
gun
is
under
on
her
fire.
pillow.
And I thought, oh my God, the luck continues. I'm now burning down this rental house. But boy, I mean, this poor fool. It is not pretty at 5:30 in the morning. It's just brutal. Man.
I thought you would say you had to go out there and jump the car or something.
No, and that was the nice thing too, is he's leaving, and I'm saying, okay, let me just quickly go take a shower, and then I'll be right after you. He said, do you want me to warm up your car? And he did.
No, wow.
Yeah. So I jumped in the shower and.
Just because he's checking down.
Good quick search.
Planning a little locator.
That's right. Yeah, you gave me consent. Yeah, that's what he was doing. I didn't even think about that. Man, I cannot believe I fell for that.
He knows where you pack your heat in the car.
Yes. So, and I appreciate that he came and got me. That was good because I came down the stairs with my phone saying, it's got to be the fire department. Something must be on fire. And they were trying to call me, and I just slept right through it. So.
Speaking of that, well, now I'm being nosy, but do you still live out at Lozo, or do you live in town?
No, I'm in Dry Creek now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I think the new pharmacist is at Mark and Sidney's.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, good.
So, yep. So he deserves hazard pay for seeing Ellen Donahue at 5:30 in the morning. It's just brutal. Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Kathleen.
I'd have an intercom system. Who is it?
All right.
Okay, Mary. All right. So, Tricon paid all their taxes all the way up, even the second half of 2017.
Woo! Way to go.
It's about 300,000, so that really brought down my outstanding taxes by tons. So I think it's all official now, and they're out in Idaho.
That was a good little infusion in the arm, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
If only we didn't have to give it back to the state.
Yeah, most of it.
Yeah,
sure.
wait till the next legislature.
Yeah, it can't get much worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, I got more work, and I know I'm a broken record, but I need help, still need help. Mary has been helping me, Mary Mueller out of the clerk and recorder, helping me with some of my month-end work, but I'm hoping now that taxes season's over that things will slow down, but I'm still way behind. I've been averaging 50 hours and I worked 60 hours last week, which I could use some hazard or overtime. Somebody was asking me, well, look at all that overtime. I'm like, no, doesn't work that way. But
Well, that one day, we had an all-day meeting, and then when I came down to come Monday to help stuff envelopes, you guys were already done. Is there anything simple like that I can come down and do?
I got tons of filing and stuff that's pretty menial task
Okay.
that I can't get to, so yeah, I probably could.
I went to school at Alberton, but I'll give it a shot.
Well,
Ask him to say his ABCs first.
first if you
Backwards or forward?
Yeah.
Without the tune.
Without the tune.
LMNOP. So yeah, I could just help anytime.
Okay.
I'm still begging and asking for it, so
All right.
yeah. I know that the superintendent at St. Regis, and I'll just give you a heads up before you see an email, complaining that I'm not keeping up. That I used to be very good at keeping up with all my reports and everything they need, but I've been having a hard time, so, and I know he sent it to Dwayne. I don't know if he sent it to all three of you. So that's coming, and I don't know what else to do. I'm like I said, I'm working as hard as I can, but they're apparently not very happy with me right now with some of the reports.
Is it time-wise or training-wise? Do you need help training, or?
Both, because I've been learning the job because I didn't know it before. I had my deputy doing that, and then when Chandel left and that went over to Shirley, I just had never had to learn it before. And then when Shirley left, it's like I can't continue to not know that part of the job. So I have been learning it, but there's just I just can't do it all. So I'm kind of hoping we get to a point I'd like to start. I've been showing Mary some of it as we go along, just because I need somebody else to help me with some of the work. Claudia, I'd like to teach her, but she's been so far behind on motor vehicle that I can't give her anymore, because she would just get further behind. So I'm kind of stuck in this spot where I just can't seem to keep my head above water. And I am trying, but.
So is Mary Mueller able to give you any training assistance? Because didn't she do
Yeah.
that at the Superior School?
Yeah. She knows the system. She's picked up on some. She did the warrant redemption, which is something that takes me, half a day worth of work. It only took her about the same amount of time, but she did it, had a few things the first month, but this is just her second month doing it, and she had it perfect. Everything was there. I just had to look it over, and that helped me. And she's doing some of the other reconciliations and on some of the other bank statements, since she seems to be. And I told her a lot of the school, she knew the other end of it, the other side, also with Black Mountain, so she understands the programs. But I can give her something to start on, but if something comes off in her office, then she's got to stop what she's doing with me. So if I have anything that's time sensitive, then I can't really give it to her. But anything that I've got, not a deadline on, she has been helping with. So I'm very thankful for that, and that has been relieving a little bit of pressure. And we made it through tax time, so things should start to level out a little bit. But like I said, I don't mean to do a broken record, but I don't like to, hardest thing is everything I do, it's in my face. I can't just say today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on this. And I'm pretty good at multitasking, but I can't, I just got lists that I can't ever check everything off, because I'm always, something else is always coming that's more important, and trying to delegate and to just prioritize what needs to be done. It's just, it's more difficult. I mean, I'm now been treasurer, this is just starting my 8th year, and I would think that now I'd be feeling really good about it, like everything should be rolling, but the amount of turnover I've had over the years, and that is just, I think, is kind of all caught up. So that's my story.
Weed man.
Well, I'll save that one till the end. Just for Jen's interest and update, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program education, known as SNAP-Ed, which is a extension program that deals with nutrition education in schools, and then also in communities for adult programs. That was a position formerly held in our county by Deloitte Tyler. She shared work with schools in Mineral County and Sanders County. That position has been vacant for a few years, 5 years, Kathleen? Is it? Or longer?
4 years.
4 years-ish.
Ish.
They have filled that position with a young gal, or excuse me, a person. I don't know if she's young. She will be working out of. She's working in Sanders County. She'll be working out of the Thompson Falls Extension Office. We have not met her yet. She will be hopefully coming down sometime in December to meet with Emily and I and see the office and see what materials we have for her to use when she's in Mineral County. And then supposedly in the spring is when she'll be starting up with the schools and with some of the adult programs that SNAP-Ed offers. So Jeanette, and I cannot remember her last name, but hopefully she will be joining us at our open house on the 15th. So we'll start getting her introduced around the county as she's planning on coming in. And I guess to dovetail on that, if you haven't seen it already, it's probably in your inboxes or in your post boxes or wherever you get your mail. Every year the Extension Office hosts an open house, just a way to thank the community and thank all the people that help us. And it is scheduled for next Friday from 11 to 4. So there's coffee, ciders, food, plenty of food. Yeah, if you leave hungry, it's your own darn fault. So feel free to sneak off during your lunch breaks or your mandatory 15-minute breaks every 2 hours of work that you've been putting off for years, and just kind of use them all in one day.
All right.
Yeah.
See you next
We
month.
have a rollover plan?
You haven't heard about it?
I'm pretty sure it was in that new personnel policy.
I think so.
I know I made a note of it. I figure after 20 years, I got enough to take off a week or so at least.
Sorry, Charlie. No. No can do.
Good thing I work for the state now. Economic development side of extension work. We finally have some progress going forward with a CDBG, and they are having a conference call tomorrow to update on the Superior Meats loan package and program through Lake County. So presumably we'll know a little bit more after that, and the federal funding that came through on that. So that's been, they were hoping to start on that this fall, and we've just been kind of waiting on the federal economic development, or Department of Commerce, excuse me, funding. 4-H wise, we are quickly approaching enrollment for our kids and adult leaders. So that's progressing well. For they're looking, we have renewed interest in starting 4-H clubs in Alberton. So we're hoping to get that 4-H club up and going again. We're kind of excited. Some people that have moved into that area, they're part of the Western Heritage 4-H project, which is basically cowboy action shooting for youth. And it's real big in several other counties, and you would think Mineral County, come on, you get to now play with the big guns, with 44 40s and everything, and it's just never really taken off. So we have some people that have moved in there that have been leaders before, and their kids have been in it for a couple of years. So we're looking to sort of jumpstart that kind of interest, because that's a fun one. They go out and they participate in some of those Quigley shoots out there in Big Timber and Miles City, where they're shooting 1,000 yards. Just some fantastic stuff. Yeah, some different calibers with that, but it's an interesting program, and it was created in Montana and it's now spread to other states, and so we're kind of looking forward to that. Our other 4-H groups have been going, great guns, wreath sales. They've sold out, I think, twice now, and I think they're getting a few more. But if you missed out on 4-H wreath from the shooting sports programs, you may be SOL. I don't know if they're getting any more in or not.
They smell great. I love mine.
Yeah, you ought to have about 40 of them stored in your office for a couple
Jane was talking about having a car full of them. Yes.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We have Emily and I attended our extension conference in Bozeman in October. We got more or less confirmation with from both the director of extension and our department head that they were, and extension personnel, that they were going ahead with Emily's half-time appointment to extension, and they thought it was for a year. We said, well, the letter we got said 6 months, so are we hiring somebody? Are we advertising? Are we hiring? And they said, oh no, we'll just extend it. So as far as we know, it's still a go forward. They were sort of waiting on the state budget issue. Most recent update we have from our director is that extension was taken out of the major university cuts because extension program and the fire school are not like other university colleges that just raise tuition, because ours is not tuition based. So they pulled us out of that 15% cut, which then got pulled back even further. I think it was only a 10% cut at the university level. So we were fortunate about that, because they were a 15% cut to extension as significant vacancy savings that they'd have to make up. So that looks like that has been resolved. We will probably know a little bit more after the first of the year when we hear an update from our department head. So I guess on the weed side of things, obviously we are in the nice relaxation season, catching up on reports that were due to the state Department of Agriculture last week. We don't have any grants that have gone up to the trust fund, so we don't have to prepare any grant proposals or presentations. We have our annual conference coming up in January, so it'll be a week over to that in Great Falls. Catching up on a lot of continuing education and new materials is always part of it. We talked at the weed board meeting last night about some of the wear and tear on rental equipment and the cost that we charge people that rent stuff. So that's just, fortunately we had repair materials stocked, so it's just a matter of restocking those, and we'll pick those up when they're delivered in Great Falls. And other than that, I will be on a brief hiatus or leave for about 3 weeks in July. So
I'm gonna go do a 4-H trip over into the goat country again.
Well, the sheep country, yeah.
Sheep country.
I'm taking a group of 6, hopefully 6, 4-H'ers to New Zealand for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Where was that country before where I said goat?
I was in Mongolia for a month. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I think I need to go with you.
That's
to
what I
New
was
Zealand.
saying. Need another chaperone.
I am the chaperone. You kidding?
If you don't get to go with him, he does a great slideshow when he returns.
I know, but that's not the same.
Yeah, I get a lot of people that say, "Oh, that'd be great. It'd be great to go on vacation." Yeah, taking 6 teens to a foreign country, going through customs in foreign lands.
And there's no mall.
At least New Zealand, they speak English, so
Yeah.
that'll be unique. We'll actually go somewhere where we speak sort of the same language.
I will be your chaperone. You will be their
No. You don't do it. No.
They like to be on
Kids are my chaperones. But yeah, I'm finishing up
I gotta go to court.
2 more kids that we're interviewing tonight.
Happy holidays.
So hopefully we'll get a good group. They're all mostly ag based. So not quite as long as I would like, but it is a chance to go. So it's been 6 years. I got itchy feet. I gotta go. but I will be back in time for fair, so
All right.
Emily said I could go.
When you talk about rental equipment, are you just doing the spray stuff, or do you do the conservation equipment too?
Well, that's the
Nope.
conservation.
Yeah, the conservation
Yeah.
district has their own,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have any safeguards, or what do you make, I mean, when people come and rent your stuff, it's usually local, it's not, have you ever encountered somebody who's, like, actually a commercial sprayer, and they want to come use your equipment for the cheaper price than buying their own or renting one at the, Star Rental?
Usually anybody that's got a commercial license, they have to have their own
Equipment.
equipment and stuff anyway, so, yeah, we've not,
You don't have to watch out for that.
no. We've had people that will come and depending on the products using and legalities of it, they may spray, they may have worked out a deal with their neighbor, to spray theirs and their neighbors or surrounding landowners, they'll co-op and one person will do the work and a bunch of them will chip in and get product and those are acceptable uses of it, but we've never had anybody, take it and go off and do jobs for pay, so at least we're aware of. But, some of that equipment up there is, there's one unit up there that was a couple of years old when I started, and that's been 20 years ago, and we try to keep it in pretty good shape, and we've had to replace a few parts on it, but it's still sound and works, and as long as people follow directions, they work, so.
And before the commissioners talk, maybe the town councilman has something to update everybody.
Well, I'm just sitting here wrapping my head around what Tim had to say about, basically, we're gonna owe about $80-some thousand, figuring how we're gonna squeeze out of that. Other than that, my package should be at my house already. I haven't seen it yet.
So I missed on a couple of things. I know that the Department of Revenue, Lois, down in St. Regis, is gonna close.
Oh,
But they're
yeah.
not gonna give her a date. Apparently, they walk in and say, take your stuff and you're done, but no warning before. So she's hoping that it'll be, later sometime next year, but she don't know for sure. She'll let us know when she knows, or they'll let us know. And then I don't know if that goes to Missoula or down to Valley County, which is not gonna be a pretty.
How about Sanders? What are you doing with Sanders?
Haven't heard on that one. She didn't say, didn't know. And we're working through the information for the bond for Superior Schools. Just signed some more of the papers for CalAN to get that bond going. And that was, I'd forgotten about that. That was it.
What do you think of anything, Gloria? The interview's coming up on the 15th for the lead jailer, administrator, and then the 20th for jailers, so all the court people that left are already aware of that, I think, but hopefully the jail will be opening by January 1 or soon thereafter. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I guess we got nothing else. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.